freezing in that big room. Do you mind if I make a pot of coffee? Will you drink some? That's a good idea. I'll drink it. The thermos he'd demolished on the drive up here had burned off a long time ago. Bree filled the coffee pot and went about setting the controls and adding grounds to the filter. When it's cold like this, I need something warm to drink. I think we'll be drinking a lot of coffee then. I noticed some decaffeinated herbal tea in the pantry too. I'll probably switch to that in the evenings, otherwise I'll be up all night. Ian's brain instantly went to the nights he had kept her up without the assistance of caffeine. How many times had he missed his 8 a.m. English lecture because he'd lost track of time in Bree's arms? His eyes focused in on the curious expression on Bree's face. "What?" he asked. "I asked if you take cream and sugar," she said with a smile. "Yeah, 2 sugars. I like it sweet." Bree got down the mugs and turned to him while she waited for the coffee to finish brewing. "Still got a sweet tooth, huh?" He nodded, remembering all the junk he used to eat back in college. Like any college student, he'd consumed his fair share of pizza and Chinese food, but more often than not, he could be found with a candy bar, a cookie, or a can of soda in his hand. Sometimes a combination of the 3. "This machine runs on sugar and caffeine most of the time. I have tried to scale back a little. I have a 1 candy bar a day limit my assistant enforces by keeping snacks in a locked drawer in her desk." The warm scent of hazelnut coffee filled the air. Bree turned to pour 2 cups and doctored them appropriately. She set a mug down next to his laptop and crawled onto the bar stool at the opposite side of the kitchen island. "I guess I always envisioned you marrying a pastry chef or a chocolatier. I'm going to take a wild guess and say that Missy doesn't bake." "Lord, no," Ian chuckled. "I don't think Missy has so much as turned on an oven in her entire life. She was singing on mall tours at 14 and was an opening act for a world tour at 17. I signed her with Spin Tracks when she was 20. She knows how to work an audience, but that's about it." Bree took a sip of her coffee. "I suppose she doesn't eat that stuff either." "Missy doesn't eat much of anything." Food was a constant point of contention in their relationship. Missy's personal trainer had convinced her that greens and fish were all she needed. Anything else and she'd blow up like a pop star has-been. When she'd announced her pregnancy, he'd expected her to add some foods back into her repertoire, but the opposite happened. Since she knew there were certain kinds of fish she couldn't eat, she'd gone fully vegetarian instead of taking the time to figure out what she could and couldn't have. She insisted that was why her belly was still as flat as it was on her last album cover. He wasn't sure how well she was going to take it when she hit the 3rd trimester, and even a strict diet wouldn't keep her from putting on a few pounds. "I guess I'll never be a rock star then. I like food too much," Bree said with a smile. "Of course, I've got the junk in the trunk to show for it." One of Ian's eyebrows shot up. He tried not to look, but he'd noted Bree's trunk was nicely full. "I don't know what you're talking about," he said, trying to sound sincere without seeming too interested in her body. "You look great." Bree smiled, a blush rising to her cheeks. She tucked a stray strand of blonde hair behind her ears. "Thanks, but we both know this isn't the same body I had back in college." "Thank goodness. I don't think I was skilled enough to handle curves that dangerous back in school." Bree wrinkled her nose. "Were you always this big a flatterer?" "I think so. I just did it with a song then. Now I have to be more direct. I don't have time to beat around the bush." Bree's bright blue gaze met his for a moment, and he felt the familiar heat rush through his veins once again. What was he doing flirting with Bree? He was engaged. He was going to be a father. He needed to focus on his relationship with Missy, not his past with Bree. How could he forget the fact that Bree had kicked him when he was down? That she had offered him the closest thing to a real relationship he'd ever had, then snatched it away? Ian needed more space between them if he was going to get through the next few days. He couldn't decide if he wanted to kiss her or give her a piece of his mind. Neither was helpful. He remembered the feeling from school. She knew just how to